the cigarette-smoking man aims to kill Frohike for closing in on his identity. As he takes aim, he listens as Frohike recounts parts of his life, and we are transported back throughout American history
to when the cigarette-smoking man was just captain in the military. The agents are virtually non-existent in this special glimpse into the series' most villainous, yet oddly most human character.
This is not happening.
Each of us in this room understands a life eviscerated by the actions of another. Cigarette?
No, thank you, sir. I never touch them.
You see, Captain, most people seek to control life's events in order to secure a more positive, productive, and free existence. Often, however, the objectives of others conflict with our objectives.
Viva la libertad.
Now, most people, common people really, can barely manage to control their own self-centered, myopic existence. They command armies of lawyers armed with paper weapons, attacking with spiteful, vengeful, cowardly litigation. Others operate within elephantine bureaucracies. And then, Captain, there are extraordinary men.
Welcome back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast. I'm your host, Mike, and with me, my good friend, Andrew. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. You're going through this in record time. You're speeding through that intro.
Well, you know, as of late, there have been stumbles, so I'm just trying to get through it now. No.
We're getting better, though. We're stumbling less often, although for some reason, something makes me stumble from time to time, and I can't figure out what it is.
It's just nerves. When you got so many thoughts, you want to get them out, you want to entertain, but your brain works faster than your mouth.
That is clearly what it is. That is what my wife tells me.
Today we are covering Musings of a Cigarette-Smoking Man.
Oh, what an episode. This is truly one of the best episodes in the series, I would say. Definitely of season 4.
Fantastic episode.
Would you call this a mythology episode?
At parts, yes. At other parts, no. And that's going to be one of the big questions is how much are we supposed to glean from this? How true and factual is Frohike's telling of the CSM backstory?
Well, I am really looking forward to that discussion. I think that is a final thoughts discussion because that is definitely blowing the lead. But yes, that is an element throughout the entire episode is what do you believe?
What do you believe and what is bullshit?
Yes.
And there are a few moments where we can tell it's bullshit, but we will get there, I'm sure.
Episode number 7 of season 4, which aired November 17, 1996. 17 million people tuned into this. I mean, this is definitely the X-Files in its heyday.
Prime time.
Prime time, baby. And written by Glenn Morgan.
Yeah.
Directed by James Wong. I mean, this is the dream team right here.
One of them, yeah. I think they gave us an episode like The Field Where I Died, and we know how you felt about that one. But
True.
You know, now we have this.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. I accept your point. But maybe that's when Glenn Morgan and James Wong write together. We get that kind of episode.
That's possible.
When it's just Glenn Morgan, it's pretty great. That's what I'm going to hang my hat on, at least.
Yeah, I think so. Well, this episode is going to take us on a roller coaster ride throughout CSM's life. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot to discuss in terms of what's real and what's fake. So what do you say we get into it, Andrew?
Let us begin the musing process.
Right.
Let us amuse ourselves.
Amuse. Well, before we do that, one quick thing. This is Chris Owens. He gets his swing at being young CSM, officially CSM Junior, not the audio dubbed hack from season 3.
Yeah.
Of course, Chris Owen will go on to play the Great Mutado and,
of
course, Jeffrey Spender.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that? The fact that he's brought back in as Spender. I mean, I'm not enamored of that choice. I mean, I get why the character's there, but I think once he has such a pivotal role as a historical character, then to bring him back in, like at least give him a mustache or something, right?
Well, I know that's your answer to everything. Change the hair or add a mustache.
It's not wrong.
That's not wrong. When he came back, I was not... Again, we have to look at it from a 1990s perspective, right? This episode, while very good, when he shows up as Jeffrey Spender, not a lot of people were probably like, oh, he played young CSM. Because that was
right.
a season and a half later, right? So it's like, I like it because he does, for some reason, look to me like part of the CSM family and the Mulder family. He just has a good face. I think Chris Owens was perfectly cast for his roles.
Absolutely.
Which
suggests to me that Jeffrey Spender could have been cast as anybody, although he is supposedly CSM's kid. So, all right, maybe it makes sense that he's...
And that is probably one of the determining factors as to why they cast him. Yeah, because of that eventual revelation. Yeah, spoiler alert.
Well, listen, nobody who listens to us has not already seen all the episodes, I'm sure.
Whatever. Okay, so we have a few retreads in this episode, so I'm just going to go over a couple now.
A few.
Peter Hanlon, he's one of the aides in the episode. He played the doctor who gets eaten at the beginning of Quagmire, and this is his last episode. And then Dean Aylesworth is a young Bill Mulder. We see him again in the Young Bill Mulder Adventures. And of course, the episodes Demons and Travelers.
Of course.
Yes. So that's where I'll stop for return actors for the moment.
Oh, because there's a big one that even I saw and have noted that but you'll probably get to that.
I most likely will.
You most likely will.
All right. I'm
ready.
Washington, D.C., Andrew. It's nighttime. Rats scurry about an abandoned warehouse floor as someone enters. We see a cigarette fall to the ground as the man hesitates. It's CSM. The squeaking of the rats is interrupted only by the scrapes and thuds of his feet as he walks to the window and by a distant police siren. The room swims in a glowing red aura from an alley light as the blue of the moonlight pushes against it. He sets down a case and takes a lighter from his trench coat. We catch a glimpse of the brass lighter as he flicks it on and lights it. Deep Throat's ominous warning to Scully. Trust no one is inscribed on it. He opens a case with some audio equipment and headphones, puts them on, and flicks the toggle. With a burst of signal, we hear Frohike, frantic, begging the agents for help. CSM just listens. Frohike has stumbled onto something big. The agents try to calm him down, and the frantic Frohike levels with them. He won't talk until the CSM-25 countermeasure has been initiated. Suddenly, the headphones go staticky. CSM adjusts his equipment. In a flurry of static and electronic disturbance, the filter cleans up the audio so the spying can continue. It comes back as Byers humorously says no electronic surveillance known can cut through the CSM-25. And our villain just smirks and begins unloading some more equipment. Within moments, we see that it's a long-range rifle with a tripod and scope. He assembles the barrel and aligns the sight onto the lone gunman's office front door and peers on, determined. Frohike's news is about CSM. He's possibly found out who he is and who he wants to be. Uh-oh, Andrew.
Uh-oh.
Frohike is about to eat a bullet.
But not before telling a few stories.
Yeah. Not before regaling everyone with his storytelling.
Not to jump too far to the end, but what's the cigarette smoking man's plan here? Like, I guess that's one lingering thing I have about this episode is he waiting for Frohike to leave and then kill him?
Yeah.
But wouldn't the damage already be done with Frohike having, explained who this man is?
Well,
and thus CSM will have to then shoot everybody else in this office.
Not necessarily. I understand where you're going with that, but at the end of the episode, in the last bit of dialogue, he says, "None of this is confirmed. I have to go meet with the hacker genius or whatever to corroborate any of these stories."
Right.
So at the end of this episode, it is all still conjecture, but I'm assuming he's the only one who knows who his hacker friend is. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know that.
Mhm.
So if he kills Frohike, it eliminates that problem, I guess. I don't know. I always viewed it as like he was going to get the information. Yeah, that's kind of...
Well, I'll have way more to say about that later on.
Well, I would expect no less, Andrew.
I do love the CSM 25 countermeasure.
Yeah, of course it's CSM.
I mean, the writers have their tongues so firmly planted into their cheeks. It is so funny. The memes, 1996 memes about themselves that they're integrating right back into the show.
Yeah.
I mean, the lighter says, trust no one. This is just setting us up. We know that this is going to be fun.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those episodes where you have to look closely. There will be plenty of little Easter eggs for everyone who has a keen eye.
It is a good one, and we will elaborate on them as they arrive.
August 20th, 1940, Mexico City. A Stalinist agent assassinated Leon Trotsky with an ice pick. At that same moment, 1,000 miles north in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, he appears. The father was an ardent communist activist. During the Nazi-Soviet pact, he kept the NKVD informed on American plans to enter World War II. He was executed under the Espionage Act of 1917, before his boy could walk. The mother, the cigarette smoker, died of lung cancer, before her son uttered his first word. With no surviving family, he became a ward of the state, sent to various orphanages in the Midwest. Didn't make friends. Spent all his time reading, alone. And then, he appears to have vanished until a year and a half after the Bay of Pigs.
Gotta say, CSM is so badass. He's a smoker, even though his mother died of lung cancer.
Yeah, right? Super badass. This guy throws caution to the wind, all right?
To the smoke. He smokes caution.
I mean, he grew up in the time where cigarettes were simply cool. And
well, they were good for you.
They were good for you, and no one really believed that they were bad and could cause cancer. So, he's throwing science to the wind here.
Well, eventually, as we'll learn, he wasn't always a badass smoker.
Not always.
No.
We come back. It's a military boot camp. For those who aren't aware, Fort Bragg is a military boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
We are the year 1962. Several recruits march in tandem as they're repeating their sing-songy anti-communist chant. With the marching troops, we see one man being watched by 4 individuals off to the side. This young man is a young CSM. Inside the barracks, the young CSM sits and reads The Manchurian Candidate, because, of course, Andrew.
Classic.
A young William Mulder is identified as he sits on the next bed. He asks CSM why he wouldn't go see the movie, and CSM simply retorts he'd rather read the worst novel ever written than sit through the best movie ever made. And he's clearly a no-bullshit man with a flair for the dramatic. CSM is being requested by General Francis ASAP, and before he leaves, Mulder hands him a photo of his wife, Tina, holding a young child, little baby Mulder. He said his first word, Andrew. And although it barely counts as a word, it's adorable.
Yeah.
This family is surrounded in conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yes,
what do you think young Fox Mulder, baby Fox Mulder saying JFK sounds like? Is it JFK? Or is it JFK?
I doubt there's much separation in the letters, but...
You don't think the baby is enunciating?
JFK. And I'm sure Daddy spoon-fed him that one. Like, you're going to say it. You're going to say it.
You're going to say it. Who's your favorite president? Johnson.
You traitor. In General France's office, 4 men wait for the young captain to arrive. A Cuban man sits in the corner off to the side. General Francis, played by Donnelly Rhodes, or Doc Cottle in Battlestar Galactica.
He's my retread of choice.
And we also saw him as the poor man Sam Elliott, you guessed it, in Shape, Season 1.
Yeah, classic role.
2 agents of some kind also linger about in the room. The buzzer sounds, and in comes CSM. One of the agents asks if he's met the general or any of the other men in the room, to which he responds no. The agent then begins asking several operations if he was involved. Did you aid Congo President Kasavubu in the arrest and assassination of Patrice Lumumba? Were you involved in the training of Cuban nationals during Operation Zapata? Every answer to his question is a steady no, sir. The agent then goes on to inquire about his father, who was executed in a Louisiana electric chair. CSM poises himself and answers with a patriotic, "My only regret is I was too young to throw the switch myself."
You know, Mike, I think it's worth noting at this point that the icy cold responses that the CSM is giving to this guy as he's being asked whether he took part in these operations, and the methodology of these questions is clearly designed to make us think, oh, he was involved.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and this is him giving his plausible deniability. You know, he's showing them his credentials by saying, no, I didn't do that. When everybody knows he did. So what this does is it establishes for us right off the bat that this guy is a liar. He is very fast and loose with the truth. He is a capable liar because you can't tell if he's lying.
Yeah, he just answers the questions, not a sweat on his brow, sir.
Yep.
He's not even concerned about it. But it also is a test for them, I think, because they want to know if he would crack. I think this is like their final test to see if he's recruitable. That's kind of where I took it.
I think it's purely for the audience. You know, I think it's just reminding us who he is. I don't know why the guy is doing it specifically, other than to maybe there's one guy in the room who doesn't know who this guy is, and they need to sort of illustrate his pedigree.
Right.
And that is how they do it, is have him deny the things that he's actually done. That's the only thing that makes sense for me.
So General Francis speaks up here. At ease, your father's actions were his own. He offers the captain a cigarette, but he refuses. I never touch him. The general goes on to attack the modern person as myopic, self-centered people with lawyers and paper weapons, while the truly great people, extraordinary men, who must shoulder the responsibility for their own existence, their countries, and even the world's. So while CSM's dad was a communist, he was one of these men. He took control of his beliefs, and the general says that they know this trait runs in the family. This really sounds like a cult.
The army?
We're the best. We're so good at what we do. Everyone else sucks, right?
We get more shit done before 9 a.m. than most people do all day.
Yep. I don't know. Just the way this sounds, it's like, we get it. We're extraordinary. Everyone else sucks.
Well, I think that he's not speaking specifically about the army. I think he's speaking more
the
about
group.
Just, these exceptional shadowy figures who take charge of the direction of history.
Yeah, they have identified young CSM as someone who gets the job done and someone whose views and motives align with their own. Francis sits down, and the agent comes back in to warn that what the captain is about to hear is classified, compartmentalized. Should he accept the assignment and execute it, he will no longer be an officer in the Army, nor will any record exist of his service. The assignment, Andrew, is the assassination of an American civilian, aged 46, naval PT boat commander, married, father of 2. Who is it, Andrew?
The expression on young CSM's face as he realizes who this is quite palpable. You know, this is like, fuck.
And I do feel this was written this way for the viewer, but it really does serve to the scene when he has that facial expression where he's, it's not like an outwardly forward expression, but you can see the look on his face where he's this realization that, oh my God, they're asking me to kill the president.
Yeah.
So the lengthy description of the man, I'm sure in a situation like this would not have happened, but
well,
I'm not going to come out and say it. You put it,
I don't know how you discuss a potential assassination. Like, what is the protocol in a moment like this?
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe
you don't name names
to kill a president. Well, I like where this scene is going. It is setting us up to get that, so this guy, the cigarette smoking man, was the assassin who killed JFK, not in fact Lee Harvey Oswald, as history reports. And multiple conspiracy theories align to the idea that Lee Harvey Oswald was just a patsy.
Innocent, yeah.
So we're now going to get the X-Files version
And
of
this
the
is
movie
why
JFK.
this is why I like this episode so much. One of the reasons is because I've mentioned before how I like when reality intersects with the show.
Mm-hmm.
The alien in space, as terrible as that episode was, having caused the Challenger explosion. Like, I like the idea that certain things are. So the idea that CSM is responsible for the death of JFK, as we're about to find out.
Yep.
That's interesting to me. And of course, the X-Files would give it the X-Files spin.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a really good job, but we'll, of course, get there.
Now, interesting that you note that you like this style of story, historical, but with an X-Files spin, or at least they're able to integrate their fictional elements into that story.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what, there's a term for that kind of a story in French. Do you know what that term is?
What is
it? Is a roman à clef.
Oh.
Novel
Is it really?
Yep. Novel with a key, a novel about real-life events overlaid with a facade of fiction.
Nice.
But we'll get
Wow,
there.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Anyway, keep on going, sir.
No, yeah. So at the end of the scene, CSM asks, without just outright saying, yes, I'll do it, he asks if there's a cover in place. And, we move on
he's
to
committed.
Dallas, sir. A young Lee Harvey Oswald walks down the sidewalk smoking a cigarette. He's not very good at it, though. Keeps coughing. CSM appears inside a garage as Oswald walks in. They discuss Oswald's good view of the president for the motorcade later this afternoon. He hints at disapproval of the president's policies, but says he'll probably just eat lunch during the event and shrugs it off. CSM says he's just going to go to the movies. 90 cents. He loves the movies. Lie.
A lie.
CSM shows Oswald the curtain rods. Sure. He confirms Oswald's secret identity as A.J. Heidel. It's here that Oswald calls him Mr. Hunt.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah,
Nice.
He calls him Mr. Hunt. Fidel's supporters have to be careful. Oswald is then instructed to hide the curtains against the back wall on the 6th floor of the book depository. Once CSM has been notified it's going to plan, the visa and the money for Oswald's trip out of the country will be in his room. The two men part ways, and Oswald hands him his cigarettes as he heads off.
I like that they have established the fiction of the essentially the plan that they're presenting to Oswald as this is how it's going to go down. Your role is just to take the gun into the book depository and leave it for a third man to go and use to kill the president.
Yep.
So it's a nice bit of slick fiction for Oswald. It's like, okay, I don't have to kill the president, but I have an important part to play in this caper.
Yeah, to bring about his beliefs. He doesn't want to be the trigger man. He just wants to have a role in the fall of democracy necessarily. So
Now, historically, Oswald did resort to violence. Like he had made his own attempts on people before.
Mm-hmm.
So setting him up as the patsy, I don't know what conspiracy theories are about the actual JFK assassination, but if it wasn't him, he was the perfect patsy for it because
he was not
too
an
hard to
innocent
believe.
man.
Yeah, he's no saint, Lee Harvey Oswald.
No. We go now to the Texas School Book Depository. Oswald steps off a freight elevator and places the curtain rods against the back wall behind some boxes and next to a window. He's almost interrupted by his supervisor, but plays it off as being punctual for work. That was a close one, Andrew. That guy could have saved America. So really, it's the supervisor's fault.
Yeah, he's asleep on the switch. What are you putting over there, Lee? Oh, just some curtain rods.
Oh, we have those all the time here
Yeah.
in the book depository.
Did you put them in the curtain rod corner?
I just sure did.
Well, then back to work for you, sir.
You know, it's a good thing I put them back there because we were out and there were no other curtain rods there.
All these windows are open. The books, they fade in the sunlight. We need to have curtain rods.
Well, the next few scenes are stitched together as they happen at different locations but simultaneously. CSM gets out of a blue Public Works van. He's dressed in coveralls and rubber boots. He grabs a small bag from the back of the van and heads inside a sewer tunnel. Inside the depository, the workers clamor to get a good view of the president's motorcade as it is set to pass by soon. CSM continues on, ends up under a sewer grate leading to the city streets. Through it, he can see the sweet and innocent Americans waiting for their president. They're so stupid, Andrew. They have no idea what's about to happen.
If only they looked in the sewer drain, they could have saved
Right,
America.
and he is well lit. So
yeah, but nobody's looking his way.
Nobody's looking his way. So CSM rifles through his bag and begins assembling a sniper rifle. We can see the president, his wife, waving to the crowd in her finest pink outfit. CSM lifts an earpiece to his ear to hear a radio announcer giving the president's every location, which I call foul.
You don't think that happened?
Every turn.
So
it was a different time. And you know what? It may have happened. I'm willing to be wrong on this, but it just feels like a little too convenient. Oh, he's turning onto this street right now.
Well, I actually buy it. I mean,
I'm sure it happened in some capacity.
Did you see the movie JFK?
Yeah.
So they do suggest in that movie, and I mean, it's Oliver Stone. Who knows how much of it's real, but they do suggest that there was a lot of insecurity about the presidential route. Like the decisions they made in order to have that motorcade were exceptionally poor. And it's entirely possible they knew the president's route ahead of time and the radio announcer was, narrating it because, hey, we know where he's going. This is great. A more innocent time. So that did not trip my alarm bells for a plot crime, but I could see how it might for you.
Fair enough. As CSM takes aim, Lee is stopping off for a soda from the building's vending machine as they paint him as the innocent schlub. CSM slowly prepares to fire and puts his finger on the trigger. Oswald gets a sad puppy face when he chooses root beer, but nothing happens.
No root beer for you, sir.
An agent on the grassy knoll takes out an umbrella and opens it. CSM is poised. The agent begins lifting the umbrella over and over as a signal to CSM to take his shot. He closes one eye. We see the presidential motorcade passing by, and CSM takes one shot. A bottle of cola drops for Oswald, then a second shot. We see the president fall with a clearly intact head, which I think is a missed opportunity.
Yeah, they could have really gone to town with the effects there.
People all around begin panicking. CSM packs his things and heads out. Now, the scene is recreated very well. If anyone who knows about the scenario, once Kennedy is shot, Jackie begins climbing off the back of the car, reaching for the Secret Service agent. Mm-hmm. The one Secret Service agent who is actually running towards the car, and that is actually Clint Hill, a very brave man in that scenario.
Played by Clint Eastwood in the movie.
So he is the one agent that ran and tried to aid the president and his wife, only, you can only do so much. We only catch a glimpse of this scene, but the recreation was pretty faithful, and I did appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They really captured that moment of her reaching off the back of the car and the secret agent running towards it. Inside the depository, police have arrived, and the supervisor is identifying employees. They pass Oswald, who looks on concerned. They rush upstairs, and he begins putting it together. CSM hears on the radio that the president is indeed dead by the same radio announcer. Oswald bursts into his boarding room, muttering angrily to himself, he's not going to be a patsy. He grabs his revolver from his desk drawer and heads out. On the sidewalk, he walks stiffly. He does look suspicious, Andrew.
He sure does.
An officer rolls up in the black and white, and Oswald immediately asks for identification. But the officer tries to calm him down as he gets out of the car. Things escalate very quickly when Oswald shoots the officer without provocation. He dumps the casings in the road and dashes across the street and into the Texas Theater.
Okay, now I got to watch that again because that is an interesting point. This is totally accurate. Like Oswald did shoot and kill Patrolman J.D. Tippett. And not to dive down the rabbit hole, but there were in fact 4 spent bullet cartridges recovered at the scene, which matched the revolver found in Oswald's possession. Except, Mike, revolvers don't eject cartridges. Like
you can see him dump them. As he's running, he pulls it back and the revolver opens up and you see him dump them.
Yeah, but it's weird. Why? Why would you do that?
Maybe he just wanted to reload. And
I suppose maybe he is reloading. We don't see that bit, but I mean, it does make a deal of him running away. Mm-hmm. I just think if you're into conspiracy theories, like, no,
you see CSM roll up to the dead cop and just scatter some
bullet casings there. Yeah.
Excellent. Everything's going according to plan. He pre-fired some bullets the day before.
It's all sauce for the goose when it comes to the story that's being told here. It's like, is any of this real? Is it all just fiction? And we're getting, this third-hand telephone story. It's fascinating to think about.
Yeah. So Oswald settles into the theater and tries to blend, but it's not long before the police show up and turn the lights on to search for him. When they spot him, he's nabbed and taken down as he shouts that he's not resisting. He's not the one. A whole army of officers is there to unload him. The camera then circles from above and comes to land on CSM's face, who was there for the whole thing. He's in stark contrast to the rest of the theater goers, who are all looking over at the arrest of Oswald. CSM instead dabs his head briefly with a hanky and pulls his first of hundreds of thousands of cigarettes.
It's also interesting to note, and attention to detail for the historical element here is very good. But so yeah, he was totally arrested at the Texas Theater. The movie that's playing is War is Hell from 1961. And interestingly, Oswald actually drew his gun and tried to shoot the cops arresting him. But one of the policemen grabbed for the gun and he managed to stop it from firing by sort of getting his thumb jammed into the hammer of the gun. So like, ouch. But it could have been a lot different at that.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. So does the cigarette smoking man feel badly that he hung Oswald out to dry? Is that why he's starting his nicotine habit now?
I think there's some stress. I think there is. I don't think he necessarily feels bad. I think, as we'll find out, he's doing what he feels he needs to do to better the country or to better and advance his group. And if that involves killing innocent people or framing someone, it's just part of the job. And it's getting to him a little bit, but...
Well, it's an interesting note, and it will become interestingly relevant.
We fade back into modern day as CSM sits, puffing on his current cigarette, listening to Frohike's account. I think, Andrew, honestly, that the writers had a lot of fun with the idea that Lee Harvey Oswald did not act in the murder of President Kennedy. As we all know, it's that big conspiracy
classic, isn't it?
Nut job, Yeah. What Morgan and Wong did here was really weave reality with fiction in a way that's really engaging. Did Lee Harvey have another alias? Yes. Did he have curtain rods? Yes. The person who actually gave him a ride to work that day, I believe, was Bill Frazier, and he testified at his trial that Oswald had something wrapped in brown paper, but he didn't think it looked big enough to be a gun. The fun for the X-Files is to really naturally take the angle that he's innocent, because of course, it's a conspiracy, so we got to legitimize the conspiracy angle.
Well, more to the point, they wanted to show us that CSM is this agent of change, for the world, and it couldn't be a normal schmo, Lee Harvey Oswald, who did it. It was the CSM, and his power is not just that he can kill presidents, that he can orchestrate it so that somebody else is going to take the fall and he will stay in the shadows. So he'll get away with it as well as doing it.
Yeah. And it is worth noting that in that killer season 2 episode where he says, and I quote, "You can't threaten me, Mulder. I've watched presidents die." Now it comes to truth, to X-Files reality.
What other presidents has he watched die, I guess is the question.
I don't know.
Because a lot of them are still
That narrows it down, really.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Roosevelt, maybe?
Maybe Roosevelt.
I was in the room. I was a young boy. Cut off his oxygen.
We go now to part 2 just down the road a ways from Graceland. It's black and white now, the cigarette-smoking man's apartment. In the scene, sometime later, CSM sits in his apartment and types away at his typewriter while he listens to the bombastic voice of Martin Luther King Jr. as he speaks to his supporters during the escalation of the Vietnam War. CSM scans his writing and recites a line that he's particularly proud of. I can kill you whenever I please, but not today.
Oh, it's prophetic. It's
His
foreshadowing.
book, right? His book title is Take a Chance, a Jack Colquitt adventure, undoubtedly akin to Jack Ryan's Escapades by Tom Clancy. It's worth noting his writing alias is Raoul Bloodworth, and might I suggest that is what we call him from now on.
Oh, very good. Very good. Except, is it true, Mike?
I'm going to use it for the rest of the show.
Well, I've got a question for you, Mike. Why do you think they chose to do it in black and white? This scene out of all of them.
You know, I've often wondered that. I think the first part was emulating, at least in a sense, the movie JFK. So they didn't really want to do it then. This is more of
Well, the only thing, a question of choice, and that I think it would have made more sense if they had made all of the flashback sequences in black and white, modern day in color. But the only thing I can think of with the Martin Luther King sequence is they've done it in black and white to echo a line that he'll have later in his shadowy cabal meeting.
Yep.
The issue becomes very black and white. You know, black and white in terms of racially black and white. So that's my guess as to why they've chosen to do it here. But
I would agree.
I think I would have preferred it if the whole of the flashback sequences were in black and white.
Well, why don't you just write the show?
I should just write the show. We've already written better endings for half the episodes. So
right.
Nothing to change it here.
No. Okay, so as Raoul Bloodworth impresses himself with his wit, he is disturbed suddenly by something MLK had to say in the background speech. That Marxism has a revolutionary spirit. Communism is a judgment against our failure to make democracy real and follow through with the revolutions that we initiate. Bloodworth is saddened at these words coming from this extraordinary man.
You're going to call him Bloodworth from now on?
Strap in, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, it's all Raoul Bloodworth from here on in.
He's extremely bothered by MLK's turn here.
Well, it's not just that he's bothered. I think that
he's disappointed.
He knows what this is going to...
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, you've walked into it. You've stepped into the quicksand, Martin. You really shouldn't have said that because now we have no choice but to do something about it.
Yeah. And that's a shame because he does respect this man. And now he's like, well, now I have to get involved. And that's most likely going to mean death.
Yeah.
So in an unknown location, he now sits surrounded by men in a secret meeting of sorts. He calls out a man named Edgar. That's right, J. Edgar. We've seen actor David Fredericks before and will again.
Why didn't you know this was coming, Edgar?
Last year, the House was not smiling on non-eye-to-eye surveillance.
So I stopped.
We called Ramsey Clark to receive a go-ahead on tapping King's phone, but he refused.
Our behind-the-fence operations on Willie believes that King's ally, Stokely Carmichael, is recruiting a Negro army to wage war on white America.
Wouldn't you if you were them? If this were only a civil rights issue, I'd vote for a King Benjamin Spock presidential ticket. But after last night, it's not.
You actually sound sad about it.
I respect King. He's an extraordinary man. But now he's talking like a Maoist. And if he convinces Negroes not to fight in Vietnam, we'll lose. And the first domino will have fallen.
Yeah, that's why they're going to lose.
That's why. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason is they won't have enough troops on the ground.
He didn't factor in guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, or discontent at home.
Yeah.
Well, there's an interesting diversionary topic. Not that we have to go down that road, but they don't cover CSM's failures very well. Because
no.
If he was truly effective at his job, then wouldn't Vietnam have dragged on longer? Like there seems to have been a counter movement which allowed Vietnam to be resisted. You know, the U.S. effort in Vietnam was resisted and ultimately stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Unless an unspoken element of the story is that they achieved some goal that is unknown to us and then chose to end the effort in Vietnam themselves.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know how I view this one because obviously we lost, ladies and gentlemen. Did not do a good job. And
Oh no. I think the US, for what it was trying to do, did a stellar job of completely demolishing the country and killing lots of people. But
spoiler alert.
I just don't think that there was a game plan for how you win your conflict there. Like as not to dive into US foreign policy, but the US military effort abroad is usually pushed by a political movement or a need rather than an end game. Like Iraq was like that. Afghanistan was like that. Vietnam was like that. So they're stuck in these morass wars for far too long with no way out. And then they ultimately just sort of say, it's done. We're going to bring everybody home now.
Everyone's coming home.
Kind of got it out of our system.
Yeah. Maybe that's the tack they're taking.
Yeah.
CSM's assertion and his ideas as to what is going to cause us to lose the war is incorrect. So,
yeah.
So he's off the mark on this one, ladies and gentlemen.
A little bit. He's still young, though. He's figuring it out.
Well, there's obvious tension in this room. Different men thinking situations should have been handled in different ways. Bloodworth reins everything in, though, and asserts his dominance. Do you think there's some honor in here? Is this like a weird gentleman's code? Like, I love you too much, I have to kill you myself. I can't just assign it to a lackey.
Okay. I'm gonna edge slightly towards final thoughts by suggesting that I think what we're seeing in these part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 stories, we are seeing a Jack Colquitt novel.
Oh, yeah.
We're seeing the cigarette smoking man's perspective or his dream, his active imagination of how it would have played out. And this is him saying, well, I've got too much respect for man. I'll do it,
Yep.
In the room with J. Edgar and all these other guys. He's the powerful guy. He's got so much juice he can compel the director of the FBI to sit back down. I work very hard to keep any president from knowing I even exist. Those catch lines are so pulpy that it feels like the novels he writes. So I feel like what we're seeing is not, in fact, Frohike giving us the backstory, but these are his reminiscences. This is his imagination of what these events would have been.
Yeah. We're pointed in that direction as he's typing throughout each backstory and into the kind of semi-future. He's typing the novel. He's reciting lines.
Yes.
When he's on the phone with the agent who's talking about alien assassinations and stuff, which just happened in the scene before. So we get the idea he's writing about everything he's doing and posing it as fiction, right?
Yeah.
So yes, that dynamic is definitely here in the episode itself.
Yep.
We move now to Memphis, Tennessee. Martin Luther King's speech overlays the next scene. Bloodworth hangs out in a bustling night street as African-American attendees enter MLK's latest event. A nice woman smiles at him as she enters. He lights a cigarette as a solemn look washes over his face. MLK's speech is extremely elegant and casts a huge shadow on the action Bloodworth is about to take.
The nation is sick. Trouble is in the land, confusion all around. That's a strange statement. But I know somehow that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. And I see God working in this period of the 20th century in a way that men in some strange way are responding. Something is happening in our world. The masses of people are rising up, and wherever they are assembled today, whether they are in Johannesburg, South Africa, Nairobi, Kenya, Accra, Ghana, New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi, or Memphis, Tennessee, the cry is always the same: we want to be free.
Gotta be honest, Andrew. I get shivers every time this scene plays.
Yep.
That man knew how to talk. There are several scenes with an actual speech playing over it, and it gets very intense. But good stuff.
I think it's all the same speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mountaintop. Famous.
Mountaintop. It's amazing. In the rooming house, James Earl Ray comes in and greets him as Rawl. I thought that was interesting. I don't know why.
I did, indeed it was.
He gave his
You
novel.
watched this with a transcript, though, don't you? So
What'd you say?
you watched this with the closed caption.
I do watch it with subtitles.
I just heard him enter and mumble something. I didn't hear him actually say the name, but that totally checks out.
He uses his author name. Ray tries to make small talk, but Bloodworth ignores it and mentions that their gun buyer is coming to look at the rifle. He ushers Ray out the door and suggests he come back in a few hours, but to leave the car. Ray takes the bills and walks out, shaking his head slightly. Cigarette smoking man. Oh, no. Excuse me.
Yep, Rawl Bloodworth. Get it right.
The speech is backed with Snow's tense strings, implying the impending doom of the Civil Rights figure. Of course, we all know the outcome. There's plenty of poignancy and power behind the scene because it is sad. Rawl is seen setting up across from the Lorraine motel with his rifle covered by foliage. He peers through the dense leaves to his target. At his door, MLK comes out with his entourage, and as the speech crescendos with intense determination, we hear that fateful gunshot. The scene is bookended with the aftermath of his death. Pictures of men pointing from the balcony to where the shot came from, and a still of MLK's funeral procession. Extremely powerful, Andrew.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hell of a scene.
Bloodworth is a terrible man. But is he? Is he a terrible man?
Is he? Is he?
That's
Is this
the
Jack
thing.
Colquitt?
This is Jack Colquitt.
It's Jack Colquitt.
After the assassination, he's reading a rejection letter he received from a publisher for his book. It's not nice, and despite his evil deeds, your heart breaks a little bit for Rawl here.
For him, yeah. It's a pretty atrocious letter.
It is awful and hilarious at the same time. Anyone, I encourage you to go to this scene and read as much of the letter as you can, because you can barely see it, but at the bottom of the screen, it literally reads, "Do not," in big capital letters, "send this piece of trash to another publishing company." Wow. Man, they just pulled no punches back in the 60s.
Not only are you a terrible writer, but don't infect any other publisher with this
I have
virus.
sent letters to all our competitors not to take a novel from you. Don't even read it.
Don't even try.
Yeah. So do you think they knew who they were talking to? Because now they are in Bloodworth's crosshairs, if you want my opinion.
Well, that is the irony, right? I mean, it adds fuel to the fire that CSM doesn't have any practical power.
Right.
Like he dreams big, but in reality, he'll get a letter like this and he'll just be crushed. He won't do anything about it. You know, it'll just fuel him to go on to write yet more stories.
And it devastates him.
It does.
It devastates him like a normal person.
Yeah.
Coming up, he gets giddy, he gets excited. Dare I say happy.
Oh.
And then when he's crushed again, he's
so sad puppy.
Why am I living? The life has been drained out of him. So
yeah.
He's a poor man, but
yeah. Part 3, 1991.
Oh, but before that.
Oh, there's more?
Robert Kennedy, he's sulking about having to kill Martin Luther King, and Robert Kennedy is on the television talking about it. And as Bloodworth feels bad for himself, he puts the photo of Tina Mulder into his drawer.
Yeah, how did he get that? How did he get that photo?
Young Bill Mulder showed it to him, so maybe he gave it to him. I don't know. Some years ago. Right. We cut back to modern day Washington, D.C. in a cute scene. As he stumbles in the backstory, he begins stumbling here. He cannot get his lighter to light. And that's the whole scene. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought that was very clever.
Yes, it is very cool.
As he's hearing the story of what happened to Martin Luther King and remembering his rejection letter, his will is broken all over again. So he can't even light his lighter.
Well, it's the Aeschylus poem, I
Aeschylus,
think, which
yeah.
also does it to him, right? He's just like, yeah. Well, again, it's a Jack Colquitt moment, right? This overwhelmed with the sacrifice that has been extracted from him.
So we go now to 1991. It's Christmas Eve, and Bloodworth is holding a meeting. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a glimpse at his life as the dark man in charge. People reporting to him about various issues that he gets to make the final call on. They ask for his opinions on the Anita Hill case, moving Rodney King's trial to Simi Valley, right down to who he wants to win the Oscars. It's a little far-fetched, Andrew, to think he's got his hands in all these cookie jars, but it's fun nonetheless, I would say.
Well, but the sports story about the Olympics and that what has he got against Buffalo? I mean, that's the thing that really gets me.
You know what? It's just a fun joke. That one is solely for the audience because he takes a jab at the Buffalo Bills and he says, as long as he's alive, they'll never win a Super Bowl. And this scene takes place in 1991.
Right.
Well, the Bills famously went to the Super Bowl 4 times starting in 1991 and they never won.
Oh, I see.
So they're playing on this weird bit of sports history.
Okay.
So I don't think it actually means anything, but it's pretty funny.
It's fun.
This scene, I want to say, is probably the biggest indicator that the episode is that Jack Colquitt adventure.
Oh,
because he gets a call from Saddam Hussein.
Oh.
And he's like, I'll call him back.
Yeah.
It's like this guy is everywhere. He is number one. He is the guy to go to for everything, even Oscar nominations, right?
Yeah.
So that's the most fantastical part about this episode, but it's still funny. It's interesting.
Oh, it is so in line with every other scene we've seen before. To the nth degree, he's the epitome of power, and he holds the fate of the world in his hands.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess this is the point where I will ask you, Andrew. Officially, we are nearing the end of the episode.
We're nearing it, so it's going to happen. Yeah, go.
Is this scene Frohike embellishing? Or is this simply the Jack Colquitt adventure? Or is there some truth to this? Does CSM have his fingers, his tendrils in a lot of aspects or all aspects of American life? What do you think of this?
So I think that it's the Jack Colquitt adventure.
Yeah.
Mercifully, the episode doesn't give you enough to be conclusive, right? Like they are presenting it to you as this is what happened, but they give you so much other stuff that presents the cigarette smoking man as an unreliable narrator that
absolutely
you take it all with a grain of salt. You don't actually hear Frohike narrating this. So we could get very little actual stuff out of Frohike. And what we are seeing is purely the invention in CSM's head as he is there ready to kill Frohike, but deciding not to.
Yeah.
I think this is all grandiose conjecture and it's marvelous to watch.
Yeah.
But there's no way of knowing. And you don't even need to know. It's just so brilliant in terms of the character building that's the best part about it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's?
I don't think it's 100% legitimate. I do think that it is CSM having taken part in these events, but embellishing himself.
Definitely embellishing his own importance. Yeah.
For the Colquitt novel. I think that is what the basis of this episode is for. I think the lead that Frohike has comes from the Romana Cleft series.
Yeah, probably.
And it's like, who can we attribute this to? These are stories written by a man that have been embellished who could very well be CSM. How they make that conclusion, no one knows really. But
yeah,
this is CSM embellishing the stories himself.
Absolutely.
He took part in MLK's assassination.
Yeah.
He did it, but how it happened, how everything around it happened is up for debate.
Yes.
So that's what makes this episode so marvelous. It's like, yes, we are to believe certain things actually happened and that CSM took part in them, but how much of it is just his ego talking, right?
Oh, it's layers upon layers. It's really, really well done.
Well, that's the episode. I mean,
we've got nothing more really to add. There's no
nothing more to add
or anything.
Oh, man.
Well, our scene at the meeting isn't done yet.
It's not done. It's not done. The scene does not end without a reference to Mulder, right? Once one of the guys in the room's like, that spooky guy, we gotta watch him. And Bloodworth is like, I will keep an eye on him. So the X-Files exist now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mulder is on CSM's radar. But that is the only reference to the X-Files that we get. Before he leaves, he hands out Christmas gifts. And Andrew...
This is my favorite moment of the entire episode.
It's so good. I caught a glimpse of the gifts before they were opened. And the first thing that came to my mind was those long, thin CD cases that they used to come in. You remember when they were really long, oblong?
Yeah.
So I wanted to pose to you. Obviously, that's not what he got them.
No. We know.
Which CD, which obscure artist would he have gotten them all CDs from? And they'd all be the same, just like the ties. But what CD would he have gotten them?
And this is 1991, right?
1991.
So this is Jagged Little Pill.
I was just thinking Jagged Little Pill. I don't remember when that came out, but
I have to know now.
I think it was after that, but
it was.
I was thinking something like
95.
Yanni.
Damn. Oasis, maybe. What was Oasis' big hit?
93. I think
they were formed in Manchester in 91, so I doubt that they have done anything that he would have noted in 91.
I'm thinking something like Yanni, something obscure that no one really listens to.
No, not Yanni. I think he's a classic rock guy. He's be the Rolling Stones or something.
Possible. But this is what he thinks they would like. This is CSM trying to be a nice boss, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to get you all ties. But no, if he got him CDs, I like to think it was some obscure...
It's Russian, It's
Russian.
The Eastern Bloc.
Mongolian throat singing.
I'm surprised it's not cigarette lighters, though. Or a selection of Morley products, just a line of cigarettes.
He's got like a Morley baseball cap of a fanny pack. I redeemed my points. Here you go.
Yeah. That's good.
That's good stuff.
It's so good. And the invitation that he gets from them to join us in Virginia we're going to hang out with our families. And he's got that moment of like, oh, that's so nice, but I have to see a guy.
His humanity is coming through in these moments. And he's wearing a patch.
Yeah, that's
a nicotine patch.
But I think though the moment of him refusing to go to the Christmas celebration is also completely Jack Colquitt.
Oh,
he cannot be normal. He cannot enjoy the trappings of a normal life because his sacrifice demands that he live outside of society. That is what is being cast here.
Yep. And they draw attention to that idea too. Later.
They surely do.
Bloodworth heads towards the basement as he exits the offices. He stops for a moment at Fox Mulder's door and then continues on.
So he had this meeting at the FBI? He had his shadowy cabal meeting at the FBI? That seems a little bit sus.
Well, you do rub it in their faces when you're the big bad.
I suppose. And that was the only office space that was available.
Jack Colquitt Adventure, he broke in to have this meeting just to shove it in the FBI's face.
Well, it makes it very fantastical. I mean, nothing about this episode is wrong for me. So, I mean, I'm willing to give it any benefit of the doubt because they establish... See, that's the thing with most X-Files episodes that I find fault with. It's because they establish their bona fides straight up. And they say, this is the truth that you're going to abide by. And then they break their own rules. In this one, they've established the rule that nothing you see here can be trusted. Yep. So that anytime something that happens, you go, wait a second. You go,
wait a minute.
Oh, it's all in his mind anyway. Doesn't matter.
Well, in Bloodworth's apartment, he sits down to some mail and sees a letter from a publishing house. It's another denial, Andrew, which he throws into the trash. He just can't catch a break. Can't catch a break.
Mm-hmm.
He begins pecking away at another adventure, or maybe not another.
It is another adventure. It's Second Chance.
But isn't the whole thing Second Chance? Oh, maybe not.
No. He titles this one The Second Chance.
I do know that, but Jack Colquitt sat alone in his apartment at Christmas. He believed in sacrifice, yet some nights he longed for a second chance. Could Bloodworth be writing about himself, Andrew?
I think it's entirely possible this is autobiographical.
Yep. With his magnum opus paragraph completed, he sits back and smiles to himself. The phone rings. I got a boner. It's Deep Throat.
Yeah. Jerry Harden, everybody.
Could not be happier to hear his voice. And we go now to Dogway, West Virginia. It's Christmas Eve, 1991.
Now, Mike, did you know Dogway, West Virginia exists?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's there?
Dead aliens?
Probably. I encourage everybody at home to look it up on Google Maps. It is a completely featureless forest plain. There's nothing there.
Then why'd they?
And yet, there's clearly an underground bunker or something there.
Yeah, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bloodworth and Deep Throat meet up. The two men discuss a new crashed UFO.
Craft matches the dimensions of the vehicle spotted over Hanoi when I was in Vietnam with the company that the Marines couldn't shoot down.
Occupant?
Critical.
Timing couldn't be worse. The Roswell story we concocted was gathering momentum. Had them all looking in the wrong direction. With luck, we'll get away with it.
Yeah, no luck tonight. Our Aurora spy plane confirmed the Russians' tracked entry and a pinpointed touchdown.
Haven't you heard? There are no Russians anymore.
I don't care if they're in the midst of ruin. The KGB is not going to ignore an event of this magnitude, nor are the Chinese, nor the Germans, nor the British, or anyone who has the capability of discovering what happened here tonight. I'm certain each of them has operatives advancing on us right now.
How many historic events have only the two of us witnessed together? How often did we make or change history? And our names can never grace any pages of record. No monument will ever bear our image. And yet once again, tonight, the course of human history will be set by two unknown men standing in the shadows.
The two reach an impasse as to who blows away the alien. So Bloodworth pulls out a coin, and the two men leave it up to fate. Imagine, Andrew, how many situations like this they've both been in. How many coin flips have decided who does what, and what fate befalls the country?
Yeah.
Or...
well, it's the same fate. It's just who pulls the trigger.
Pretty much.
And I assume that Deep Throat has always lost because of what CSM is saying, which is such a pivotal point in this episode.
Yes.
Because he says, I've never killed anybody. He's gone an entire lifetime without killing anybody. So, Mike, what is real?
It's bullshit.
This
is
either
him
he's lying now.
refusing who he is.
Yeah, he's either lying now or he's lied before, but either way, he's a liar. And I love how Deep Throat calls himself the liar.
Yeah,
and he says, well, maybe you're the liar when he says you never killed anybody. This is an amazing scene, just the way it is here. And you just look at both these guys going, are they fucking with us? You know, and this is from CSM's recollection. So is this even true? You know, it's so layers upon layers. But here's where I was asking myself whether this is a mythology episode, because we have so many points being dropped here where he says, CSM says a living EBA could advance Bill Mulder's project by decades. Mm-hmm. Mike, what project is CSM talking about here?
This is where
it gets a little bit hazy. Yeah?
It's a little hazy with the mythology because they're already working with the aliens. They have been.
Yes.
Yet Bloodworth.
We're keeping with it.
He refers to...
he specifically calls it Bill Mulder's project.
Yes. He refers to the Roswell as a smokescreen. The Roswell event. So that's not accurate for the show. And then this, Bill Mulder's project, and also the idea that they are blowing away an alien despite working with them.
Well, but then the Deep Throat goes on to say that, you know, the Security Council Resolution 1013, nice nod to Chris Carter's production company, where any country capturing an entity is responsible for its immediate extermination. So, I mean, there's some mythology building right there saying that they've got this worldwide shadow agreement to kill any EBEs that
But
land.
why? My question is why? Because they're working with it.
Well, but there's
so unless this is
aliens.
yet another alien.
I think it is yet another one, because this one they can just shoot to death. They don't have to stab it in the neck with an alien schnick.
That's true. That's true.
So I think that's the agreement. I think this is all hammered out better in season 5 in terms of the rules of the game. But here they're still figuring it out, I think. I'm just still stuck on what the hell Bill Mulder's project is in reference to. Like, does this imply that the whole project of cataloging humanity, or at least North American humanity, with the smallpox vaccination is Bill Mulder's project? And if so, how does having a live EBA, help him in that?
I think he does have his hands in that, in its way to save humanity. The show itself puts Fox Mulder, in the position of his father wanting him to expose the truth. Bill Mulder himself is an unwitting participant. He is against it, as we found out in season 2, trying to distance himself from the way things are. And then as the show progresses, we'll find out that he denounced the whole project and he didn't want to give up Samantha at all, or Fox. And so he put his son on this crusade to save the world of the plans of the syndicate. He was unfortunately a part of himself. So I think his role per se is the fact that he wants to inoculate humanity so that when the colonization comes through,
happens,
that we will have our own free will still.
Okay.
Instead of becoming that slave race. So I think that is his plan.
So you're suggesting that that's Bill Mulder's project, the secret resistance to the colonization project, and that not only does he have that, but Deep Throat and the CSM are aware of that project and know the implications of having an actual alien, how that could help that project.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm willing to subscribe to that.
Okay.
Please send me your newsletter. Okay. Sorry for that diversion. Let's finish this off the scene.
Deep Throat, of course, Andrew, comes up the loser in the coin toss.
Your Honor, I think the rules were never set for that coin toss. He literally throws it and calls heads. It's like, well, all right, I guess so.
All right. Much like Deep Throat described in EBE, he enters the chamber, puts the gun to the alien, and pulls the trigger while Bloodworth flicks on his lighter. Gray-green blood sprays the plexiglass chamber.
I got to say, the effects guys outdid themselves with this alien. The breathing, you can see in the head, the green goo when he shot. Oh, it's perfect stuff.
Good stuff. Back in modern-day Washington, D.C., Frohike explains that it's at this point the story of the X-Files was gaining momentum, and Scully was brought in. We go back to March 1992, and Bloodworth is sitting down with Einstein's twin paradox, a new interpretation by Dana Scully, senior thesis. This is the day of the meeting with Blevins. As he lights another cigarette, the first episode scene plays over it. I like the callback to her thesis, which was mentioned some time ago.
It was Mulder in the pilot who said, I read your thesis, yeah.
It goes on to show he had Mulder's office bugged, and he was listening to Mulder and Scully's first meeting with a smile on his face.
Oh, yes, he knows this is going places.
Modern-day Washington. Bloodworth keeps his rifle trained on the gunman door as Frohike describes what he believes motivates him. He doesn't so much believe in his actions, but his actions are all life allows him. He's the most dangerous man alive. To cap off the scene, the only person that can never escape him is himself. In his apartment in the past, Bloodworth opens another presumed rejection letter from Pivotal Publications. But wait, Andrew. It turns out this Drek is just the kind of thing Pivotal Publications likes. They love it. Oh, they are so emphatic about how much they love it if you read their letter.
Yeah, it's so good.
He snatches the phone and begins dialing with a childlike enthusiasm.
Immediately on the horn with them.
Yep. The conversation is short.
This is 30 years he's been waiting for this acceptance letter.
He can't believe it. Cannot believe it.
I just love to see him so giddy too. It's like such a character
He's stumbling
reversal.
over his words, Andrew.
Yeah.
Cannot get out.
I'm just so excited.
I'm so excited. Oh, well, the conversation is short and sweet. Walden Roth, the publishing agent, is very complimentary of Second Chance, a Jack Colquitt adventure. He wishes to serialize the novel in Romana Clef, a titty mag. So you know it's quality. Of course, Andrew, this comes with a few caveats. Bloodworth will have to relinquish some control, to which he is a little uncomfortable with.
I.e., all control, apparently.
Pretty much. Roth assures him they will handle it with the utmost respect. I call bullshit. This guy is a swindler, and it is one of those deals, ladies and gentlemen, where they ask the writers to basically give all the rights to them for a percentage.
Not even percentage, a flat rate, $2,500. There you go. Yep. Which is probably good money for. Like, he could have sold it to, for $500.
I don't even think he cares about the money. Obviously, I mean,
he doesn't. It's not even with the money, because he's literally going to resign this job and become a full-time writer on the strength of getting one acceptance
in a titty mag.
Well, he doesn't know it's a titty mag at this point, but it's clearly, like on the same level as like heavy metal or something. It's titillating.
Well, unfortunately, Bloodworth is so blinded by excitement that he agrees. After the call, he begins typing at his machine again, and from what little we can see of it, it is that resignation letter you were talking about, Andrew. He gets up to leave, he signs the paper, and collects his things. He grabs his pack of cigarettes and, well, he crumples it in his fist and throws it away.
I mean,
new lease on life.
Powerful moment. What a powerful moment, because it's like you can tell just by these actions, writing the resignation letter, throwing out the cigarettes. This is the transformation his whole life has been waiting for, is to be recognized for his skills as a storyteller. And it's obviously so powerful for him that he's going to abandon this life of shadowy power, and join society as a successful writer. It's a very cool moment, and it's of course setting us up for the huge fall, which is about to befall him.
It's so sad, man.
It is so sad
to watch him, and we're right there. But
yeah,
it's release day. Bloodworth walks down the street and stops to peruse the magazines. Note the article about Darren Morgan, Andrew.
I did not see the article about Darren Morgan. What does
it
say?
Says, where the hell is Darren Morgan?
Oh.
He asks for the new issue of Romana Clef. He flips through it excitedly to find his story. As he reads, he notices things have been changed, and the smile drains from his face as he realizes the ending is all wrong. By the end of the scene, the excited and, dare I say, happy Raoul Bloodworth has done a 180. His face goes blank as he half-heartedly asks the shop owner for a pack of Morleys. It's just that easy. He sits on a bench, smoking, upset, disenchanted with the system. A homeless man reaches into a trash can and grabs a box of chocolates. And it's here that Bloodworth finally lets us all know what he's thinking.
Life is like a box of chocolates. Cheap, thoughtless, perfunctory gift that nobody ever asks for. Unreturnable because all you get back is another box of chocolates. So you're stuck with this undefinable whipped mint crap that you mindlessly wolf down and there's nothing else left to eat. Sure, once in a while there's a peanut butter cup or a English toffee, but they're gone too fast and taste is fleeting. So you end up with nothing but broken bits filled with hardened jelly and teeth-shattering nuts. If you're desperate enough to eat those, all you've got left is an empty box filled with useless brown paper wrappers.
This is, if you couldn't tell already, this is the writer telling us this is embellishment. This is using pop culture, even though Forrest Gump didn't come out when this scene takes place. Just the fact that this is in the episode, it's theatrical, and it's
sure.
more Jack Colquitt pulp, just stuff to put in the episode that's so sing-songy, and no rational human being talks like this, right?
No, but it's his mind state after having been betrayed by Romana Clef for how they treated his opus.
Yeah.
The ultimate low after having the ultimate high. It's such a great reveal for this character. Also revealed that he likes peanut butter cups and English toffees.
Yeah. Very important. Very, very important.
We'll be taking that away.
Just when he thought he was out, they pulled him back in. He tears up his resignation.
Is that an Emmy moment, an Emmy winner moment for William B. Davis?
It is. They should have given him that.
Oh, for that scene, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, he steeled himself, Andrew. He gave it a genuine go. No one could ask any more of him.
Do you think he continues to write after this?
Fuck no. He has been spurred.
The killing he's about to do, starting with the entire staff at Romana Clef.
Yes. Every one of them has been killed.
Yeah.
So fuck it, he says.
If I can't have fame, nobody will.
Nobody. We go now to modern-day Washington, D.C. Bloodworth loads a round into his rifle. This is all based off a story he read in one of his weekly subscriptions, and Frohike is going to look deeper into it for proof. As he begins exiting the building, good old Rawl prepares to fire. Frohike begins down the street, and Bloodworth's finger loosens on the trigger. I can kill you whenever I please, but not today.
So, Mike, why doesn't he kill Frohike?
After everything we've talked about and everything that, the embellishments that we believe is part of the story, I think it was a blast down memory lane for him. He's reliving his novel that he never got published, but it's being told to an audience, right?
Yeah.
So it gives him some levity, some enjoyment, and he could smoke Frohike right here, but you know what? He's going to give him a pass on this one because he had a good night.
I think also, I wonder if he's ever actually killed anybody. And this aligns with his statement to Deep Throat. I've never killed anybody. I could go my entire life without killing anybody. I think this is a test for him. Like, he's come to this moment of, I could kill Frohike. I've got that power. I could do it. I could get away with it probably, but I'm not going to. It's him showing power to himself. And it's a cool little sequence. Apparently they shot it in a way. They filmed the whole sequence of Frohike getting blasted, and they chose not to use it in the end.
Yeah, they realized they were going to have a mutiny on their hands if they killed Frohike. Yeah. So good on them for not actually doing it. It would have been cool.
It would have been
but cool. I can applaud them for not doing it.
I tend to agree. I think it's a better ending this way.
Yeah.
Because also it would have been like, there should have been a follow-up episode. Who killed Frohike? And, two-parter. And that would have been just bullshit. So I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
What an episode.
I'm interested. I'm intrigued that you think good old Raul here is a virgin murderer. Because I don't know that I believe that. I'm intrigued, and I'm willing to go with you on that. That's an intriguing take. I always thought he was just lying to Deep Throat to kind of run from what he's done. You could half-assed kind of way, but
you could argue that, like Deep Throat, they both have been responsible for the death of hundreds, if not thousands of people, millions maybe, just by the virtue of the actions that they put into motion. But I think his comment to Deep Throat saying, I've never killed anybody, I could go my whole life without killing anybody, is about him being directly pull the trigger responsible for a death. And I think that's why he is imagining it in the Jack Colquitt Adventures, what it would be like to do that. The power of taking somebody's life.
He's giving Jack Colquitt the ultimate job of killing the president, of killing Martin Luther King. Yeah. Whereas here, he ultimately just ordered it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that that's cool.
Yeah, he was part of the planning, but he maybe didn't do it himself.
Which is what they cast Lee Harvey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe he's Lee Harvey.
Oh. Do we want to slide into final thoughts?
Yeah, let's do it, sir.
All right. Well, Mike, this This here is a 100% Morgan and Wong episode. Well researched, intricately planned, and it doesn't even have a moment of actual screen time of our main actors. A tour de force for William B. Davis and Chris Owen, giving us a compelling story about our villain with twists and turns we never see coming. What I find fascinating is the aspect that the cigarette-smoking man could be the ultimate unreliable narrator. Are we seeing scenes of truth, or are these tales that he's written and planted to be discovered by Frohike? The episode goes to great lengths to paint him as a man of great imagination, a gifted storyteller, so the idea that he's writing stories of his own grandiosity and importance is not impossible. The moment in part 3 when he tells Deep Throat that he's never killed anyone lies at odds with the story we've seen so far, but then we don't know what the truth is anymore. Mike, for me, this is definitely in the running for my top 3 of season 4, and very well worth rewatching.
You cannot go wrong with this episode.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not even going to go into final thoughts. I think I have...
You didn't write any, did you? You just said, nah, I'm done.
No, I don't need to. Like, we have gone on about how much intricate detail this episode has, and how there are parallels between who CSM is and what the Jack Colquitt adventure means to the actual story. I think we've gone over all the key details on what makes this episode just a banger. And it's such a tour de force. It's a brilliant episode. The weaving of reality with X-Files fiction is so well done. And I really enjoyed, especially the Martin Luther King scenes and the JFK assassination, just the aftermath of that. There is subtlety in all of this, and it gives the bad guy we love to hate a hand in some of the shaping of America. And again, it's if you believe everything, but I think on some level, he did have something to do with it, which is really interesting to me. It always has been when the show will take aspects of reality and kind of move them into the show. So I enjoy that, and this episode is something you should never skip, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, God, you'd be doing yourself a grave disservice to skip this one.
Do not teleco this one. You are going to want to watch it over and over. So, yeah, that's all I want to say. It's a great episode.
Well, Mike, we have 2 listener comments for this episode. Shall we read them?
Please.
All right. Well, we'll start with Aaron Haycroft, who says, Musings of a Cigarette-Smoking Man is an all-around fun episode. I don't take any of it too seriously since it's all second knowledge about a character who is the definition of an unreliable narrator. See, that Aaron Haycroft is just such a smart and intelligent person. It's like he's echoing everything I said. The fact that the episode had CSM admire Martin Luther King, yet still go through with his assassination is a good wrinkle in the character. If I could have the cigarette-smoking man be involved in any other large-scale event, it would be the O.J. Simpson murder trial. He switched the gloves, or something silly like he started the Barbenheimer meme.
Absolutely. He helped O.J. get off.
Yeah. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
He wrote that too, I'm sure.
That jingle totally is Jack Colquitt.
That's Jack Colquitt right there. Glove don't fit, you must acquit.
Thank you, Aaron. That was a great comment.
Excellent comment. Liza M writes, I'm okay with the flights of historical fancy in Musings of a Cigarette-Smoking Man, mostly because it's framed as a crazy yarn being spun by the lone gunman. Also, the ending monologue is just about the only redeeming feature of Forrest Gump. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I enjoyed Forrest Gump when it came out. I thought it was a solid movie. But I think it has not aged well.
It has not aged well. I tried watching that a few years ago. I was like, sorry, Bob Zemeckis. This is just not for me anymore.
Yeah, it didn't work. Well, that was Steven Spielberg, wasn't it?
I think he may have produced, but he did not direct it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
it's not about
he's best buddies with Bob Zemeckis anyway. So
it's true. They'll get around.
They all did Back to the Future together. So I think all of our listeners, or the 2 that wrote in for sure, have caught on to what the episode is doing to us. You know, is this reality? Is this not? Is this just embellishment by Frohike, or is it actual embellishment by CSM himself? So good stuff.
Yeah, amazing comments. I think, though, the episode does a pretty good job in describing how this happened. Like, this is Frohike, who picked up his issue of Romantic Clef, read it, and was like, holy shit. This is, I think this was written by the guy who's always fucking with Mulder and Scully. And he immediately calls them up and says, I have this evidence, in quotation marks, and he's got to tell them all about it. And on the strength of this pulpy story, he's made a whole character study of this man. Okay.
It's so ludicrous that he got this quote unquote evidence.
Yeah.
And he just assumes it's CSM. But
one of his regular subscriptions. Yeah.
That's the best part. One of my regular subscriptions. So he has to have, it's gotta be the Jack Colquitt story, right?
It's gotta be.
So of course, it's a titty mag.
Yeah.
Because it's Frohike. So it all lines up, Andrew.
If you look at some of the other, so I did freeze frame the magazine cover, and I wrote down some of the titles they have on there. So the Second Chance novel is introduced as Warm Up to the Cold War Barn Burner, Second Chance. And then it says, illegal rape videos, all clues lead to victims' families who sell loved ones.
God.
And then the bottom part is, as special in this issue, our Christmas preview of new toys for girls and boys. It's so heinous. I mean, they must have had so much fun creating that magazine.
I would love to be in the props department for shit like that, where you just write whatever you want to.
Yeah, it's so good
for the audience's dissection. That's perfect. That is the episode, ladies and gentlemen. I had a blast talking about this episode. It's one of season 4's best and one of the show's finest. So,
for sure.
Andrew, if you have nothing else to say, please say goodbye to our dear listeners.
I will say goodbye to our dear listeners and remind you that maybe Mike and I are unreliable narrators.
Well, we are unreliable when we fuck up.
That's for sure.
as the syndicate to our show has pointed out many times. So, all right. Well, thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night or morning or afternoon
or wherever and whenever you are. I hope this has been fun. Yeah. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilepod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.